The Zodiac Killer, a shadowy figure in the annals of true crime. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, a sinister presence cast a long shadow over Northern California. A mysterious figure, known only as the Zodiac Killer, embarked on a reign of terror that would captivate and horrify the nation for decades to come. This elusive serial killer, who claimed responsibility for at least 37 murders, though only 7 victims have been conclusively linked to him, became infamous not just for his brutal crimes, but for his chilling communication with the public and law enforcement. As the fog rolls in over the San Francisco Bay, it's easy to imagine the Zodiac stalking his prey, melting into the mist like a phantom. His legacy is one of fear, intrigue, and frustration, a case that remains unsolved to this day, leaving amateur sleuths and seasoned detectives alike grasping at shadows. The beginnings of terror. Our story begins on a balmy December night in 1968. In Berryessa, California, 2 high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were enjoying a first date at a secluded lover's lane. What should have been a night of innocent teenage romance turned into a nightmare that would mark the beginning of the Zodiac's known killing spree. As the young couple sat in Faraday's Rambler, a car pulled up behind them. The driver approached, shining a bright light into their eyes. Without warning, he opened fire. Faraday was shot in the head but managed to exit the car before collapsing. Jensen attempted to flee but was cut down by multiple shots to her back. Both teenagers died at the scene. The brutality and seemingly random nature of the attack sent shockwaves through the community. Little did they know, this was only the beginning. A pattern emerges. Just 7 months later, on July 4, 1969, another young couple fell victim to the killer. Darlene Farron and Michael Mageau were parked at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo when a car pulled up beside them. The driver exited his vehicle and approached with a flashlight, momentarily blinding them. Without a word, he opened fire. Mageau, though seriously wounded, survived the attack. Farron, however, was not so fortunate. As she lay dying, the killer calmly walked back to his car, only to return moments later and fire several more shots into both victims before driving away. This time, something changed. Less than an hour after the attack, a man called the Vallejo Police Department, claiming responsibility for both this shooting and the murders of Jensen and Faraday. The caller's chilling, matter-of-fact tone would become a hallmark of the Zodiac's communications. The birth of the Zodiac. It was on August 1st, 1969, that the killer first referred to himself as the Zodiac. 3 nearly identical letters arrived at the offices of the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. Each contained details of the shootings that only the killer could have known, along with a warning. If the letters weren't printed on the front page of each paper, he would go on a killing rampage over the weekend. To prove his authenticity, each letter included 1/3 of a 408 symbol cryptogram that the Zodiac claimed would reveal his identity when solved. This was the beginning of the Zodiac's infamous love of ciphers and codes, a trait that would both fascinate and frustrate investigators for years to come. The 408 symbol cipher was cracked within a week by a high school teacher and his wife. However, it didn't reveal the killer's identity as promised. Instead, it contained a rambling message about hunting humans and collecting slaves for the afterlife. The Zodiac's penchant for misdirection and mind games was becoming clear. The Lake Berryessa attack. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac struck again, this time at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. College students Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell were enjoying a picnic on a small island when they were approached by a man wearing an executioner-style hood with the Zodiac symbol on the chest. The man claimed to be an escaped convict and tied the couple up with pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline. Then, in a terrifying turn of events, he stabbed them both multiple times. Hartnell survived, but Shepard succumbed to her injuries 2 days later. Once again, the Zodiac called to claim responsibility for the attack. This time, he wrote the dates of his previous attacks and Sept 27-69-630 by knife on the door of Hartnell's car, along with the Zodiac symbol. The taxi driver murder. Just 2 weeks after the Lake Berryessa attack, on October 11, 1969, the Zodiac claimed his final confirmed victim in San Francisco. Taxi driver Paul Stein picked up a passenger at the intersection of Mason and Geary Streets in the city's upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood. Minutes later, Stein was found dead from a single gunshot to the head. 3 teenagers across the street witnessed the crime and called the police. They described the killer as a white male in his late 20s to early 30s, 5'8" to 5'9", tall, with a stocky build and reddish-brown hair. In a twist of fate that would haunt investigators for years, a dispatcher mistakenly described the suspect as a black male. This error led to 2 police officers stopping their patrol car alongside a white man matching the correct description just minutes after the murder and only blocks from the crime scene. Unaware that they may have come face to face with the Zodiac, they let him go. 2 days later, the San Francisco Chronicle received another letter from the Zodiac. This time, he included a blood-stained piece of Stein's shirt as proof of his deed. The letter also contained a threat to shoot school children on a school bus, adding a new level of terror to his reign. The ciphers and letters. Over the next few years, the Zodiac continued to send letters to newspapers and law enforcement. These communications were a mix of taunts, threats, and cryptograms. The most famous of these was the 340 cipher, sent on November 8, 1969. Unlike the 408 cipher, this one would remain unsolved for over 51 years, finally being cracked in December 2020 by a team of cryptography enthusiasts. The solved 340 cipher read, in part, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That cipher was not by me. It was too easy to solve." This message perfectly encapsulated the Zodiac's attitude towards law enforcement, a mix of arrogance, playfulness, and contempt. The letters continued sporadically until 1974, with the final confirmed Zodiac letter being sent on January 29th of that year. In this letter, the Zodiac referenced the movie The Exorcist and claimed a kill count of 37, far higher than the number of confirmed victims. The investigation. The Zodiac case quickly became one of the most infamous unsolved crimes in American history. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved in the investigation, including local police departments, the California Department of Justice, and even the FBI. Countless suspects were investigated over the years. One of the most promising was Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester who lived in Vallejo. Allen owned the same type of watch that the Zodiac had referenced in one of his letters, and a friend claimed Allen had told him about an idea for a story about a killer who hunted couples and sent taunting letters to the police. However, Allen's fingerprints and DNA did not match samples believed to be from the Zodiac. He died in 1992 without ever being charged. Other suspects included Rick Marshall, a film projectionist who lived in San Francisco at the time of the murders, and Lawrence Kane, who was identified by one of the Zodiac's surviving victims as resembling the killer. However, like Allen, neither was ever conclusively linked to the crimes. The legacy of the Zodiac. The Zodiac Killer case has left an indelible mark on American popular culture. It has inspired numerous books, films, and television shows, including David Fincher's acclaimed 2007 film, Zodiac. The case continues to fascinate amateur sleuths and true crime enthusiasts, with countless online forums dedicated to discussing theories and potential suspects. The Zodiac's use of ciphers and his taunting letters to the press set a precedent for how serial killers could manipulate media coverage. His actions influenced later killers like the BTK killer, who also sent taunting letters to the police and media. The case also highlighted the challenges of interagency cooperation in criminal investigations. The various police departments involved often struggled to share information effectively, a problem that has led to significant reforms in how law enforcement agencies communicate and collaborate. Unsolved mysteries. Despite decades of investigation, the true identity of the Zodiac Killer remains unknown. The case is officially unsolved, although it remains open in several jurisdictions. In recent years, advances in DNA technology have given investigators new hope. In 2018, a similar approach to the one used to identify the Golden State Killer was applied to the Zodiac case. While this hasn't yet led to a breakthrough, it represents one of the best chances to finally put a name to the infamous killer. The Zodiac's ciphers continue to intrigue cryptographers and amateur codebreakers. While the 408 and 340 ciphers have been solved, two shorter ciphers sent by the Zodiac remain uncracked. Many wonder if these final puzzles might hold the key to the killer's identity. Theories and speculations. Over the years, numerous theories about the Zodiac's identity have emerged. Some believe he was a military man, citing his use of military boot prints and his apparent knowledge of ciphers. Others think he may have been involved in law enforcement, given his ability to evade capture and his knowledge of police procedures. One intriguing theory suggests that there wasn't just one Zodiac killer, but several individuals working together. This could explain some of the discrepancies in witness descriptions and the varied nature of the attacks. Another speculation is that the Zodiac was responsible for many more murders than the 7 confirmed victims. Some researchers have linked him to unsolved cases across California and even in other states. The enduring mystery. As we approach the end of our journey through the dark world of the Zodiac Killer, we're left with more questions than answers. Who was this enigmatic figure who terrorized Northern California? What drove him to commit such horrific acts? And perhaps most tantalizingly, is he still out there? The Zodiac case serves as a chilling reminder of the limits of our justice system. Despite all our technological advancements and investigative techniques, some criminals manage to slip through the cracks, leaving behind a legacy of fear and fascination. As the fog once again settles over the San Francisco Bay, we're left to wonder if the truth about the Zodiac will ever come to light. Until then, his shadow continues to loom large in the annals of true crime history, a phantom that refuses to fade away.
The case of the Zodiac Killer remains one of the most intriguing unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. It continues to captivate the public imagination, serving as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within seemingly ordinary individuals. As technology advances and new investigative techniques emerge, there's always hope that one day, the true identity of the Zodiac will be revealed, bringing closure to the victims' families and ending one of America's most enduring criminal enigmas.